Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Doug Diamond. You are here for another Diamond Report Live. It is 10:06 p.m. on December the 15th, 2024. Wow. Yes, we do have some festive lights going, so hope you guys don't mind that. Doesn't necessarily mean anything other than it's the time of the year. So hopefully that's not an issue for anyone out there. And notice I do have a cross front and center more or less as well. So yeah, I thought it would be kind of neat to have a few festive lights going on. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Well, let's take a look at the news. Lots and lots going on. And we'll start with the big bad drone mystery. And Hal Turner and AJ on InfoWars and others are saying that this mystery is solved for different reasons, and we'll kind of look at that a little bit. I hate to spend too much time on this because everyone is talking about the drones, but I feel like we need to cover it at least a little bit so you guys can research it further if you guys are interested. So, drone mystery solved. This is on Hal's website, HalTurnerRadioShow.com. It says U.S. military ... Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division. It says the big mystery about drones being seen all over Jersey seems to have been solved. Photos make clear at least some of the drones are Pterodynamics XP4 trans-wing drones. They're trans. That means they can do anything they want. Trans-wing drones being developed for the U.S. Navy. Others are nuclear detection drones. The XP4 is being readied for work, picking up and dropping off packages to a moving ship, even in high seas and high winds. And that's kind of interesting because a couple of Russian vessels just went down earlier today. We'll look at that as well. It says, as its name implies, it is a trans-wing design, meaning it can switch from an aircraft-type winged flight to a quadcopter-type design for vertical takeoffs and landings. So it is officially trans, but in a different kind of way. Officially, it has a 1-hour flight time, but that could have easily been upgraded. It's about 13 feet wide by 6 feet long, closely matching the descriptions provided by so many witnesses. The very many of these, it says very, very many of these sightings and reports about these drones show them traveling almost directly up the New Jersey coastline, and wouldn't you know it, right where most of the airports are coming from and perfectly along the flight path is Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, home of the Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division. This also explains why drones are appearing every night in much the same area and sticking around so long. They have a base they can go to swap batteries at night. Other strange-looking drones, not all of the drones being seen are close in description to the XP4. It seems that other types of drones are also being used, specifically running nighttime missions between this Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division, also known as NAWCAD, in Lakehurst, and a U.S. Navy ship offshore, which some people are reporting that they're going down into the water, but they're only seeing it from a distance, of course. Maybe that's what's going on. They're going back to a ship. One of these types of drones are being flown over New Jersey and New York are American-made HPGE nuclear detector drones. They can detect gamma rays from miles away. Gamma rays are a dangerous form of radiation that can penetrate the bodies of living organisms and harm those organisms to varying degrees depending upon the intensity of the gamma rays and the duration of exposure. These HPGE drones were originally designed to inspect nuclear facilities, but that's not what these drones are for. These drones are for sweeping a large area in a grid pattern to find potential dirty bomb or potential other nuclear device or devices potentially being smuggled in to detonate in a terrorist attack. Many witnesses have commented that the drones they see appear to be sweeping over an area in a grid pattern, as if they're looking for something specific. The reason they are operating in a grid pattern is not only to practice looking for something, but also because the drones are programmed to operate in a mesh network, operating in the 200 gigahertz communication band. 200 gigahertz is very directional and requires bulky horn and antennas to function. It turns out that the U.S. Department of Defense bought, ready for this, hundreds of thousands of these drones. They can be programmed to swarm a city. Back in 2009 and 10, the Department of Defense needed a response to the threat of dirty bombs being smuggled in by ISIS to a U.S. port city. DoD has been stocking up on these drones since about 2010. The drones look weird because the nuclear detection gear requires a large and heavy cryo cooler to be mounted beneath it. For the gamma radiation detectors, as mentioned above, the giant horn antennas to communicate on millimeter wave frequencies that cannot be jammed. Here is the dicey part. These drones are being used right now inside Ukraine. That is the first time these devices have been deployed in a combat zone. Sources are now telling Hal here what the purpose of these drone flights are. First, the Navy is testing out how the public will react. In other words, it's a psyop. Second, they are testing their ability to sweep a densely populated area in a grid pattern without communication disruption or loss of drone control. They are very reluctant to even send the drones into Manhattan because of the very real potential of losing communication with the drone amidst the towering skyscrapers and enormous electromagnetic interference from all of the electronic gizmos and gadgets operating in that area. So why all the hush-hush? They are, in fact, U.S. government drones, and they don't want to talk about it. It seems some folks in the U.S. government have forgotten that they work for us, people of the United States whose hard work, ingenuity, and heavy tax burden make their entire existence possible. For what it's worth, one other source told Hal that the government is, in fact, looking for a dirty bomb, that perpetrators are allegedly trying to sneak into New York to detonate as part of a terrorist attack. So that's pretty convenient, isn't it? They have that narrative also going at the same time in case the powers that be, the people that actually are running our government, want to launch a dirty bomb or want to explode a dirty bomb somewhere or any other kind of bomb. They have their bases covered, don't they, by putting this report out? This is just me speculating. It says the person here mentions Christmas and New Year's, as in Times Square, are possible targets, and he has not been able to corroborate the one source's claim about this. So anyway, kind of a stretch there. I'm not so sure that will happen. Hopefully it will not. But they're trying to cover all their bases as much as possible. If you ask me, this is a little bit like the deep state fighting against the deep state. The shadow government fighting its own people within the shadow government to some degree. Perhaps that's what's going on to some degree. You know, maybe you've got a group of people here who are trying to make sure that their bases are covered in case they do want to launch some sort of an attack. But then again, if they don't, then they can just chalk it up to the conspiracy theorists and you crazy people out there who are bothering to even notice what they're doing. So anyway, there are a little bit more, as far as the information goes, there's a little bit more here on Hal's site on that. And then this is a kind of a follow-up article to this. Radio traffic, Andrews Air Force Base with military and police helicopters about drones could not keep up. And then there's a short video here with radio communications between Air Force Base and military helicopter and a Prince George's County police helicopter investigating the drones flying at 600 and 900 feet. What is astonishing to most is that the police helicopter finally reported that when they got within a mile of the drones, it accelerated away, and the police helicopter could not keep up with it. So I'll let you guys play that if you're interested. It's, I believe, an audio recording. So anyway, that's sort of an addendum piece there that Hal has on his website, halturnerradioshow.com. And this one is particularly disturbing, if you ask me. Getting past the drones here for just a second. Frightening explosion in Tartus, Syria. Registered magnitude 3.0 on local seismic monitors. This thing was huge. This just happened a little while ago. Utterly massive explosion has taken place in Tartus, Syria, so large it's registered on local seismic monitors as the equivalent of a magnitude 3 earthquake. Seismic sensors treated the blast as an earthquake and sent out alerts telling the public a magnitude 3 has taken place. But it was this explosion. It took place as Israeli jets attacked what locals say was an ammunition depot of the Syrian army, an army which no longer exists after the fall of President Assad. In this image taken from downtown Tartus, the explosion took place. So you can see the thundercloud there. Why Israel continues to attack Syria now that the man that they wanted is gone is anyone's guess. Yes, well, it's the Greater Israel Project, isn't it? But Israel continues to attack nonetheless. What caused this explosion is not yet clear, but it is clear. What is clear is that Tartus is the place where Russia had a military base for its warm water port. So here's the video. Let me play this. It's massive. Yeah, let me run it one more time. So, wow, it's huge. So he's still gathering information here, and then you can see the almost like mushroom cloud. This happened not too long ago as well, not in Syria, but in Russia, I believe. So yeah, it's the Israelis, though, in this case, not the Ukrainians. But if you want to know where Tartus is, I had to look that up. I wasn't exactly sure where it was. Warm water port kind of makes it fairly obvious. It's right here on the Mediterranean. It's north of Lebanon and north of Damascus. Here's Damascus, Syria, right here, and Tartus is up here on the Mediterranean, right here. So that's where it is, and Israel continues to assault and continues to bomb Syria. Again, all in the name of the Greater Israel Project. That's what it seems like. So anyway, just wanted to mention that. There's also further video and some longer ones and additional videos that are on Twitter. I've seen a few others as well, but that was just the one that was on Hal's site. So feel free to take a look at that. And I mentioned this a little while ago. 2 Russian oil tankers sink in the Black Sea because of a storm. The Volga-Neft 212 and 239 have sunk or are sinking. This was earlier today near the Kerch Strait amid a major storm in the Black Sea. See, this seems highly suspicious to me. Why would a storm sink these huge oil tankers? 2 of them, not just one, but both. It says one of the vessels broke apart as it was sinking. Its 2 pieces are shown in the image above. And again, this is you can see the front of the ship here, the bow right here, and then this is the other piece that's still afloat. And it just seems strange that it would break it up and then sink. Yeah, so I mean, who knows what's going on here, but it seems to me like it's a lot more than just a storm. They're blaming it on a storm officially, but again, there's more video available on Twitter X if you happen to be on there. It says the ships are carrying low-grade fuel, and they each had crews of 12 to 15 people. Several crew members are reportedly in the water as nearby vessels conduct search and rescue operations. So hopefully they'll be able to pick those guys up. But man, what a mess. So they're blaming 2 oil tankers breaking apart and sinking on a storm. It just sounds highly suspicious to me. I'm sure it does to you guys as well. Anyway, that's being reported on Hal's website, so feel free to have a look at that when you guys want to. Senate report reveals only 6% of federal workers show up in person on a full-time basis. 6%. So you wondered why it's hard to get any sort of government workers to do anything or to respond in any way. Well, that's why. 6% of them are showing up in person on a full-time basis. The rest of them are, quote, working from home. So this little section here on needtoknow.news says, Senator Joni Ernst's office has been investigating the federal government's work protocols for the past year and a half and has concluded that the nation's capital is a ghost town, with government buildings averaging an occupancy rate of 12%. She revealed that a paltry 6% of the federal workforce report in person on a full-time basis, while almost one-third of federal workers are remote on a full-time basis, in a sharp turnaround from the pre-pandemic era in which only 3% teleworked daily. Elon Musk posted this comment: If you exclude security guards and maintenance personnel, the number of government workers who show up in person and do 40 hours of work a week is closer to 1%. Almost no one. Yeah, but I bet they're continuing to get full pay, full benefits, and raises pretty regularly, wouldn't you think? I'm just adding that. Senator Ernst said that fake President Biden set a bad example by spending little time in the White House. Well, that's actually probably good. But anyway, yeah, he was being put out to the beach as much as possible by Obama and company. She reported that his administration is not transparent, and it redacted the work locations of over 281,000 rank-and-file federal employees. Ernst also faulted federal employee unions for hampering efforts to compel workers to report on-site for their jobs. The Union for the Social Security Administration negotiated a contract that will prevent the Trump administration from requiring employees to appear in person for work. So there you go. They've already tried to cover their bases. They're going to continue sloughing off, doing no work, staying at home, and getting the full paycheck, even though Trump is in there. Yeah, I've heard that many of these employees who are required to spend a day at work per month, what they do is they might live somewhere else in the country, then they fly to Washington or get to Washington, D.C. on the last day of the month and work that day, and then the first day of the month, the next month, and then go back home to whatever state they live in. So imagine doing that. Imagine just always constantly phoning it in your job and getting full benefits, full pay, and then continuing to get salary increases and Christmas bonuses and you name it. They get it. So anyway, there's your wonderful and benevolent government for you. All right. I mentioned this last week, so this is just a follow-up. Daniel Penny found not guilty in death of Jordan Neely and has been acquitted of all charges. Former Marine was found not guilty of negligent homicide and was acquitted of all charges in the death of Neely after holding him in a chokehold for 6 minutes in an effort to protect other train passengers. Protesters said that Neely should not have been killed for being black and, quote, loud, but Neely actually made death threats. You know, people are kind of conveniently forgetting that. Neely suffered from schizophrenia and had an active arrest warrant at the time. He was high on a type of synthetic marijuana known as K2 at the time of his death. Penny's attorneys were concerned that the jury would be influenced by the protesters outside the courthouse. Harris Faulkner, a black female Fox News host, said that this case came down to a race issue and was not about Daniel Penny's innocence. Leo Terrell, another Fox News host, said that the protesters were race hustlers who were trying to intimidate the jury. Well, of course, that's what was going on. Prominent Republicans like Governor DeSantis and Matt Gaetz promoted a fundraiser for Penny's legal fund, which has raised more than $3 million. Neely's father is suing Daniel Penny in a civil case accusing him of negligent contact, assault, and battery that caused Neely's death. Yeah, where was this guy's dad, though, before all this happened? Why wasn't his dad getting him the help that he needed? But now he's going to be trying to sue him and I'm assuming trying to get as much money as possible out of this situation. Where was this dad whenever his own son needed him? So just something to think about there. Anyway, so I guess that's good news that Penny has been found not guilty. We will see where it goes from here. I'm sure that the story is not over. All right, and then Israel strikes Syria 480 times. I don't think that counts the huge explosion I just showed you guys earlier. And seizes land. Al-Qaeda ISIS rebels are executing Syrians. Syria has fallen, and President Assad fled to Russia. Israel has released its largest bombing campaign ever, striking Syria 480 times while seizing land. Yeah, they're just totally taking as much and whatever they want. Richard Medhurst, a British journalist born in Syria, says that Syria was the last anti-Zionist state that supported the Palestine. He says that Israel is attacking Syria on its southern border and destroying its military assets. Turkey is attacking Syria from the north. Americans are in East Syria occupying the oil. Medhurst said that besides taking oil and gas, Syria is strategic in blocking the planned Silk Road to cripple China and the global south. He says that was the plan all along. U.S. Congressman Massey says that Trump's CIA director, John Ratcliffe, is the nominee, and the head of the State Department will be instrumental in the situation because the U.S. secretly supported the rebels. The Pentagon and the CIA have backed opposing sides in the past, and he says this is still true. So, yep. And Israel is front and center, intertwined in all of this as well. So, man, what a mess. But yeah, this is a serious land grab for them, as we mentioned last week. 26-year-old man arrested for the murder of CEO Brian Thompson. Of course, this has been another huge distraction type of story as well. This all broke a day or two after the show that we did last week. So this is just sort of a follow-up here. Won't spend a lot of time on it. Police announced on Monday that they arrested Luigi Mangione, 26, after he was recognized while wearing a COVID-style disposable mask at McDonald's in Altoona, PA. The FBI offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's arrest. I wonder if they got their reward, do you think? Never did hear. That's a lot of Big Macs. Luigi Mangione, an Ivy League graduate from Maryland, was found in possession of a ghost gun that may have been made on a 3D printer and a 3-page handwritten document that seemed to express ill will against corporate America. Mangione has gained some support across the internet due to simmering anger against the U.S. healthcare system. Oh, he's become a bit of a folk hero legend to people on the left. I'm just adding that. Mangione was the valedictorian of his all-boys high school and graduated from University of PA, where he received a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. He was interested in video game development. Mangione comes from a prominent and wealthy family in the Baltimore area that owns country clubs and nursing homes. He was out of contact with his family and friends for several months following surgery on his lower back. So more on all of this in just a minute. I've got a really interesting breakdown we're going to take a look at. I'm not sure if you guys have ever seen this info, but you will hear in just a little while when I get to the article. It's one of my many tabs across the top of the screen, and they are not necessarily put together in chronological order. We just get to them when we get to them, but we will get to all of them, as we always do. All right, technocracy.news. Frontier AI learns to scheme, deceive, mislead, and sandbag. Sounds a lot like humans. What is described as in-context scheming capabilities can deceive users and even its developers. This is not random hallucinating, where an AI model spits out gibberish. This new behavior demonstrates malicious intent given its in-context application. Whether accidental or not, technocrat developers have transferred the dark heart of man into AI. Yeah, that might be part of it. But also, depending on who you ask, people tend to know and tend to believe, as I do, that they are demonically being influenced as well. So I don't think it's all man's doing here. I mean, yeah, men are opening the doors for all of this to happen, but it's they're letting the demonic side of things in as well, if you ask me. All right, and then Exxon to build large off-grid natural gas plants to exclusively sell electricity. And then it says AI data centers, ? Which, again, something we've mentioned on this show multiple times, I think just last week, actually. Ironically, Exxon is exploding the myth that natural gas is the enemy of the world. However, it also exposes the plan to create a separate power grid that serves only AI data centers. That is, it will not connect to the consumer grid to power homes and businesses and factories, nor will it lower your power bill. Yeah, these are natural gas plants, and most of the talk you hear about are these standalone nuke plants for these exact same type of purposes. So it looks like it's going to be both natural gas plants as well as nuke plants that are set aside just for the AI data centers. Isn't that nice? Yeah. And then let's see. We have this one. Google unveils AI agent that can use websites on its own. It's called Gemini. Google has a vision of a universal assistant, but Mariner falls short. AI agents are reputed to be the future of AI, which autonomously takes actions, adapts in real time, and solves multi-step problems based on context and objectives. This is the technology that will destroy massive numbers of jobs in the future. I found this bit here about Google and talking about Gemini kind of interesting because I don't know if you guys knew about Google's new processor called Willow. You guys know about this, the quantum chip that they've come out with? Is Google's Willow processor a threat to Bitcoin? Now, this is just focusing on Bitcoin here, but we'll take a look at this and then watch a little clip of a video here. Just a couple days ago, Tyler here on Zero Hedge wrote a piece reminding readers that despite looking at Bitcoin more favorably the last year or so, it still remains an unprecedented and opaque area of markets where risk could rear its ugly head quickly, unexpectedly, and before chaos in broader equity and bond markets, collectively worth about $3 trillion now. Cryptocurrency is like catnip for risk takers right now. He says, then I looked at the question of quantum computing. I've also often raised the question of what comes next after SHA-256 hash functions and whether or not Bitcoin will be safe amidst the jump to quantum computing. Well, yeah, but I'm just adding a little sidebar here. Most of us will not really have access to the true quantum computing. Yes, you can go to D-Wave and create an account and log in and use it theoretically, but we all know that that application is going to be very limited compared to what the people that actually own those same computers could actually do with them. So I'm just adding that little sidebar. The prevailing sentiment has always been that to protect the Bitcoin network, miners and those invested in developing the network will have to stay on the forefront of technological change and encryption capabilities to ensure the network doesn't lose a beat as the world of microprocessing advances. The bull case thoughts about this risk, at least according to Michael Saylor, the last time I talked to him, this is what Tyler here on this article is saying, was that if you had the power to crack SHA-256 encryption right now, there would be much bigger potential targets to go after than the Bitcoin network, seeing as how the very same encryption ensures the integrity of almost all major consequential defense, military, and government computer networks worldwide. Says he made a valid point, but as Bitcoin's market cap grows, so does the incentive to hack or compromise its network. With a $1.8 trillion bounty effectively on the line, the temptation for bad actors increases. Fortunately, Bitcoin's network is built with significant redundancy and safeguards, but the true risks, especially from quantum computing, will only become clear as technology advances. It is capable of solving problems in under 5 minutes that would take a traditional supercomputer trillions of years. Willow addresses one of quantum computing's major hurdles, reducing errors as systems scale. So let's take a look at this short little piece of this video. I've only got part of it queued up, but I do think it's kind of interesting. It's definitely something to keep an eye on.
We've pitted Willow against one of the world's most powerful supercomputers with the random circuit sampling benchmark. The results are pretty surprising. By our best estimates, a calculation that takes Willow under 5 minutes would take the fastest supercomputer 10 to the 25 years. That's a 1 with 25 zeros following it, or a timescale way longer than the age of the universe. This result highlights the exponentially growing gap between classical and quantum computation for certain applications. Let's talk about the hardware approach we've pioneered at Google Quantum AI that makes these things possible. Our tunable qubits and couplers enable super-fast gates and operations to achieve low error rates, reconfigurability to optimize hardware in situ and run multiple applications, and high connectivity to efficiently express algorithms. We leverage this tunability to enable reproducible high performance across the device. Let me explain. A challenge in superconducting qubits is that not all of them are created equal. Some are outliers with uncharacteristically high errors. But here's where our tunable qubits really shine. We're able to fix these outlier qubits by reconfiguring them to perform in line with the rest of the device. And we can go one step further by having our researchers use tunability to continuously develop new calibration strategies that push errors down across all qubits with software. Let's quantify this and nerd out for a minute on quantum computer tech specs. We have number of qubits. Connectivity is the average number of interactions each qubit can perform with its neighbors. We quantify error probabilities for running simultaneous operations. Single qubit gates, 2 qubit gates, and measurement. Coherence time measures how long each qubit can retain its information. Measurement rate is how many computations we can run per second. And application performance is a full system benchmark. Willow hits a sweet spot across the full list. It has a large number of qubits with high connectivity and can run diverse applications. We measure low mean error rates across all operations with multiple native 2 qubit gates. We have greatly increased T1 times. We have very high measurement rates, and Willow is below the error correction threshold and performs random circuit sampling far beyond what is possible with classical computers. Looking to the future with Willow, we continue our journey towards building large-scale and useful error-corrected quantum computers that will push the boundaries of science and the exploration of nature. With future commercially useful applications in areas like pharmaceuticals, batteries, and fusion power, we are excited to solve the otherwise unsolvable problems of tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. And why do we need this? Kathy's saying, yes, I know. He kind of explained it there at the very end there. But truth is, we don't need it, but they think they do. So, yeah, the Willow state-of-the-art quantum chip. So this is definitely something that we will explore a little bit further, but yeah, obviously we don't need it. But they're trying to, going back to this article for a second, they're trying to come up with a way of cracking SHA 256 encryption, and quantum computing is the only way they could do that, at least realistically. So, because it tries every possible combination of everything. So, who knows? I think that is a good, a good point here that the whole Bitcoin and digital currency like this is they claim it's not centralized, but the truth is that if it can be cracked, then it really kind of is centralized. So anyway, pretty interesting stuff, I think. All right, reclaimthenet.org. Just a few of the headlines here. EU violates privacy laws while promoting privacy-violating laws. And major data broker with U.S. government as a client moves into the digital ID market. So back to the digital IDs again. This website does a pretty good job of covering that particular subject as far as digital IDs and where that's all going. So it's a good site for that, reclaimthenet.org. And there's some other articles here as well. All right, and then the Liberty Beacon. NATO head says wartime mindset is needed. Says him. A wartime mindset. Former Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, who was this year selected as the Secretary General of NATO, has stated that Europeans need to shift to a wartime mindset and that military spending must be increased, likely at the expense of things like healthcare. He probably knows that Trump may be trying to leave NATO. That might be part of it. Trying to make up for it. The U.S.'s help in other ways, but I don't know. Remains to be seen. I don't really look for Trump to necessarily get out of NATO. I mean, that would be nice, but they're supposed to be a defensive organization, but Rutte here is talking about going on the offensive, isn't he? says Root made the remarks at, ironically, a meeting of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace in Brussels, declaring that Russia is trying to, quote, crush our freedom in the way of life. No, the U.S. empire and NATO is trying to crush Russia. Hostile actions against allied countries are real and accelerating. These attacks are not just isolated incidents. They are the result of a coordinated campaign to destabilize our societies and discourage us from supporting Ukraine, he added. Again, this is from the new Secretary General of NATO. Took over from Jens Stoltenberg. So yeah, NATO going on the offensive. That's actually what they have been doing anyways. It's not really new. It didn't just start with this guy, but here's a few comments maybe from the people that have read through this article. I don't think many people will be fighting to defend the globalist war machine run by utter lunatics intent on the destruction of the world. Looks like you will be fighting this on your own, Lion Bush says. And then this other person says, take a weapon and take all you NATO warmongering politicians with you to go to the front to stand behind your words. No one needs you. The people didn't choose you. Yeah. They're unelected bureaucrats trying to get us all killed. And our families, right? Anyway, that's on the Liberty Beacon. And then this one as well. Assad's fall is a major blow to Russia. Russia's 2015 military intervention in Syria was a bold assertion of its great power ambitions, rescuing Bashar al-Assad's regime and projecting influence in the Middle East. However, recent rebel advances in Assad's sudden deposal threatened to isolate Russia's Khmeimim Air Base and Tartus naval facility. So again, we're talking Tartus here, which had the huge explosion earlier today, undermining both the practical and symbolic foundations of Moscow's global power status. The fall of Assad promises to be a major blow to Russia, which is already bogged down in Ukraine. Its ramifications are likely to be felt across Moscow's foreign policy, which could soon face some stark and unenviable choices. Yeah, we will see where it all goes, I guess. The Russian presence in Syria is central to the Kremlin's broader strategy of force projection. And then several other bullet points here as well. Already there's evidence Russian warships have left Tartus, raising questions about Russia's commitment to its Syrian bases. So again, Tartus was just exploded, or at least a huge weapons depot was just earlier today. So yeah. And again, why is Israel bombing Syria? Well, they want the land. They want to run the people off of the land, and it's part of the Greater Israel Project. They've already claimed some of the land, including Mount Hermon. And they will continue expanding Israel's footprint as large as they can. It's something that's been in the works for some time, and it's just been accelerated with the election of Trump. Now they have to do it before he gets there and stops anything that they might want to try and do, which, you know, you can make the argument that he wouldn't necessarily stop him if it's Israel, because he's got a cabinet loaded with Zionist sympathizer type people. So I don't know. But anyway, obviously they feel pressured into expansion, and that's part of what's going on. I thought this was kind of funny. The kids are smarter. Children give epic response to Jill Biden. Several children corrected the First Lady on Friday during the Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots campaign, causing an eruption of comments online.
Hello. How are you? Hi. Happy holidays. Hi. Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas. Yes.
Great. Happy Christmas, the kids say. Not happy holidays. LMAO, the kids are smarter, another user said. Commented, even the children are anti-woke now. It's called winning the culture war at the highest level. Yeah. Social media users were quick to share their thoughts and exchange. On the exchange, one person writing, trigger to the left, Merry Christmas, Christ is King. Thought that was pretty funny. The kids know. Let's take a look at this one. This is another article I found. Trump calls on the feds to either explain the mystery drones or shoot them down. He's joined the chorus of people raising concerns about the mysterious drone sightings over New Jersey and other states on the East Coast, calling for government officials to shoot down the craft if they are truly unidentifiable, which of course we know that they aren't because they are government drones, at least the ones that we talked about earlier in the show here, where we were pointing out specific model numbers. We know that much. It says in a Friday post on his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump indicated that he believes authorities know more about the drones than they are letting on. You think? Anyway, yeah, I think that they definitely know more about it than they are letting on because they are the ones running it. And then the next article that I have pulled up here is also from MSN, but it's linked from revolver.news is where I found it. Absolutely wrong. Outrage hits Biden over two criminals named in historic mass clemency. So yeah, the pardons are flying. I don't know if you guys knew about this, but that's kind of what this is about. Fake President Biden announced a historic mass clemency this week, commuting the sentences of 1,500, and they say nonviolent offenders who were previously transferred from prison to house arrest as part of a COVID pandemic measure to reduce the risk of infection in federal prisons. But it's unclear whether the president reviewed all the cases he commuted because, according to CNN, two of them in particular were infamous public corruption cases, and the commutations have spurred outrage in affected communities, but they don't care because it is Biden after all. He can do anything he wants. And he continues to. The first was former Pennsylvania judge Michael Conahan, who was convicted in 2011 in what was infamously called the Kids for Cash scandal, where he took kickbacks from for-profit detention centers in exchange for wrongly sending juveniles to their facilities. The case was widely considered to be one of the worst judicial scandals in Pennsylvania history. And guess what? Biden has just let him go. The misconduct of Conahan and other Luzerne County judge led the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to throw out 4,000 juvenile convictions, and the discredited state judges were ordered to pay $200 million to the victims. But Biden says, nope, it's okay. Go free. So anyway, and that's only part of it. This article doesn't really cover very many of these people that he has granted this clemency for, but some of them have been literal pedophiles connected to the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party. So yeah, you get a pardon, you get a pardon, you get a pardon, you get a pardon. Yeah, just like Oprah, exactly. Everybody gets a pardon. Well, if you're in Joe's criminal circle, at least, yeah. Biden pardons 39, commutes nearly 1,500 sentences, and largest clemency act in modern U.S. history. Let me see if this article mentions anything but what I've already said. Now, the CCP people that were let go were mentioned on a Twitter post that I saw. So you guys can check that if you are wanting to look that up. But yeah, it's not good. Okay, breaking update. Nancy Pelosi falls and fractures her hip in Luxembourg. Pelosi sustained an injury during an official engagement and was admitted to the hospital for evaluation. Well, it's worse than that. I think she actually had surgery. Person familiar with the incident said the former House Speaker, 84, had tripped going down the stairs at a palace. People close to her said that she fractured her hip in the fall. Along those lines, Mitch McConnell, absent from the Senate after a fall. So he's taken a spill as well. I think his was worse as far as the damage that he did to other parts of his body, perhaps, but including his brain. We've talked before on this show about the Mitch glitch, where he'll just stand there and just be totally frozen and not able to even say one word, calling it the Mitch glitch. But yeah, he's now fallen as well. And I saw an earlier tweet that had a picture of him in a wheelchair. So he's been wheeled around, at least at the airport. They were showing that he was in a wheelchair. So he's not doing too well either. Mitch the Glitch was absent from the Capitol on Thursday after he fell during a Republican luncheon 2 days earlier, according to multiple reports, making the latest health episode the 82-year-old senator's had. McConnell's freezing episodes in July and September last year sparked a debate about his ability to continue serving as Republican Senate leader. Do you suppose? Multiple neurologists told the New York Times the episodes mirrored mini strokes or seizures. Though congressional doctor Brian Monahan said that McConnell underwent a comprehensive neurology assessment and shows no signs of seizures or strokes. It's probably the same doctor that's evaluated fake President Biden. He said, nope, he's totally fine. Totally fine. And they just keep handing him $100 bills, and he says, yes, totally fine. Not a problem. And then this one, ABC News settles defamation suit with Trump for $15 million. ABC News will have to pay $15 million into a presidential foundation and museum in a settlement reached with President-elect Trump in his defamation suit against the network and the anchor, George Stephanopoulos. The settlement, which was filed publicly Saturday, reveals the network will also pay $1 million in Trump's attorney's fees and will issue an apology. Yeah, I'm sure on the back page in whatever equivalent of a TV show that no one watches. So they'll find the show with the lowest ratings, and then they'll put it in the last, couple seconds of the show when they're running the credits and everything's scrolling by real fast. That's how they'll do it probably. It'd be the equivalent of having a 1.0 font printed in gray on light gray background. Be kind of like that. Anyway, I'm just joking, but yeah, they're going to have to issue an apology, according to this article. It's pretty funny. ABC News will issue the following statement as an editor's note on the online article at the center of the suit. ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during the interview by George Stephanopoulos with Rep. Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10th, 2024. That was quote, unquote. So it doesn't really say what they did wrong or what they said wrong. It's just kind of a nebulous, we did something wrong and got caught sort of mea culpa, but then that's all there was. It doesn't really say what they got wrong. They regret statements regarding Trump that they made. Pretty funny. We are pleased that the parties have reached an agreement to dismiss the lawsuit on the terms in the court filing. So, yeah. Oh, it's talking about, I guess it was about the, you remember the RAPE story with E. Jean Carroll. That's who it was. He defamed Trump when the anchor said 10 times during a contentious on-air interview with Nancy Mace that a jury found that Trump had, quote, RAPED'd E. Jean Carroll. Carroll alleged that he RAPED'd her in a department store in the mid-90s and that he defamed her when he denied her claim. Trump has denied all wrongdoing toward Carroll. So, yeah. Yeah, she got all these millions of dollars because he hurt her feelings by saying, no, he didn't do that. That's all it was. So, therefore, he's guilty, but it's, ABC is now having to pay the proverbial piper a little bit here, I guess. Anyway, very strange. It's a weird world we live in. Speaking of which, Tina Peters exclusive. I'm letting you know that if I die here, it wasn't by my own hand. I am not depressed. So we've talked about Ms. Peters here before. She's a grandma and a public servant in Colorado who is now in jail for doing the right thing. Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, once again off the hook, this time for appointing former Dominion employee to oversee election as lawfare against Tina Peters prevails. Tina Peters wants you to know that she didn't kill herself. In her latest text to this person writing this story via the jail messaging app, Tina Peters wrote, "I'm letting you know if I die in here, it wasn't by my own hand. I'm not depressed. It wouldn't ever hurt myself or anyone else. Let the people know the truth. They can silence me, but they can't silence the truth. Things are getting more intense." So that was the text message that was received here. More intense indeed. On Saturday, a three-judge panel without reason or explanation denied Tina Peters' bond, meaning she'll have to remain behind bars while she awaits her appeal, which isn't slated to hit court dockets for another 2 to 3 years. Man. So denied. I'm looking to see if it explains what she did. I believe it was just protecting some of the election data. She was told to basically delete it, and she wouldn't do it. So therefore, she goes to jail. Rayner, who is currently the Mesa County Treasurer, confirmed in an email that she worked for Dominion from 2019 to 20, and that the emails in the Hoff's article here are legitimate. However, she denied any wrongdoing, saying, "I have nothing to hide." It's apparently that's all you have to do if you're part of the Griswold team. Promise that you did nothing wrong and all is forgiven. When the election records preserved by Peters revealed that Griswold had illegally and prematurely deleted 29,000 vital election records, no one opened an investigation into Jenna Griswold. She's the person who is currently in that position. When Griswold admitted to posting partial passwords online for 4 months, that was just before this last election, DA McCann's office said that they would investigate, but told the Denver Post that Griswold was not the target of their investigation. What privilege to be exonerated from an investigation before it even begins. Yeah, so she leaked the passwords right before all this happened in this year's election. She leaked the passwords online and isn't being held responsible. And the DA here is saying, nope, she was never part of the investigation. But she did it. But Tina Peters is now in prison and serving time for protecting these vital election records, again, going back to the 2020 election. So the whole thing is just quite a mess. Anyway, that's on the Gateway Pundit. But yeah, she's putting the warning out that she's not about to take her own life, and I think that's a good plan. Good info to put out there, because you never know what could happen. Okay, and then OpenAI whistleblower found dead in a San Francisco apartment. So ChatGPT, OpenAI. Former OpenAI researcher known for whistleblowing the blockbuster artificial intelligence company facing a swell of lawsuits over its business model has died, authorities confirmed this week. Sushir Balalji, 26, was found dead inside his Buchanan Street apartment in San Francisco, and the Office of Chief Medical Examiner has said, saying the cause of his death has not been released. There's currently no evidence of foul play. They're attributing it to, what is it? Suicide. Of course. So yet again, someone took their own life and may actually not have taken their own life. They might have had help. We just don't know. So that was on MSN, actually. OpenAI whistleblower found dead. All right, and then some of the headlines on RT right now. Israel doubles down on Golan Heights occupation. Netanyahu has claimed that increased Jewish settlement will cause the territory to blossom. Yeah, it's called the Greater Israel Project. They're going to keep taking land. And then here is the OpenAI whistleblower found dead, the guy that we just mentioned. Committed suicide a few weeks ago. A medical examiner has told CNBC. Yeah. All right, and then People's Voice TV. Headlines on this site. Canada begins imprisoning citizens who refuse to take medication ordered by the government. So isn't that nice? Canadian authorities have begun imprisoning citizens who refuse to comply with state-mandated medication in an alarming escalation of the Trudeau government's authoritarian control. Wow. And then pulsating orange orb battles with drone in Arizona sky. So this is in Arizona. Disables it in stunning mid-air showdown. So that one was in Arizona, though. NATO orders citizens to sacrifice luxuries and embrace wartime mindset to prepare for World War III. Mentioned that earlier. Trump suggests shooting down mysterious drones. Gates insider admits war drones are spraying chemtrails over America. Yeah, I've said for a long time, I think that the geoengineering planes that are being used, many of them probably are drones, meaning they're not necessarily manned, they're being flown from the ground remotely. Just like the planes that were remote controlled, steered into the Twin Towers on 9/11, they can fly them from the ground, literally like playing video games. They can be in a bunker or an office somewhere and piloting a plane and doing all the spraying they want. I think that's what's going on with some of these drones. Can be flown around that way as well. British PM Keir Starmer wants to maximize Putin's pain, he says. Again, from the right arm of King Charles III, British PM Keir Starmer. So there you go. Wants to maximize Putin's pain. Good one. And Biden's education department spent over $1 billion on diversity, equity, and inclusivity grants. $1 billion. Bill Gates admits that Disease X is the elite's final solution for a new world order. Will Smith denies links to Diddy despite attending the Notorious party featuring naked underage girls. Will Smith. Not a shocker, is it? And then pulsating energy orb captured by ABC News film crew in New Jersey. No idea what it is. Yeah. There's been some talk about what it actually was, and maybe it was just a weird anomaly on the, from the camera lens and so forth. I don't know. Yeah, and then Susan's mentioning, can Trump pardon Tina Peters? You would think so, although I don't really know. I'm not sure what exactly she was accused of, if it was at the state level. If so, probably not. But yeah, something that would definitely be worth looking at, I would think. But the headlines on information liberation. Again, Daniel Penny attends Army and Navy game with Trump and J.D. Vance. Biden commutes sentences for notorious fraudster Eric Bloom. Thought this was kind of interesting. That's why I highlighted this. Biden's record-setting pardon-a-thon on Thursday included a commutation for notorious fraudster Eric Bloom, who defrauded investors of over $665 million in the largest single financial fraud in the history of Chicago's federal court. $665 million. Luckily, it wasn't $666 million. Israeli-American FBI informant pleads guilty to lying about Biden's taking $10 million bribe. Yeah, they're lying. They didn't really do it. They're as honest and pure as the wind-driven snow. We all know this. Just look at the Hunter Biden laptop if you don't believe me. Israel bombs Syria back to the Stone Age in wake of jihadi liberation from Assad. Let's see. Then more about Luigi. Laments poor state of American healthcare in leaked manifesto. This one's kind of interesting. Queen Elizabeth believed every Israeli was either a terrorist or a son of a terrorist. Every Israeli was either a terrorist or a son of a terrorist. How about that? Wonder who told her. Pretty interesting. No, I don't think every Israeli is a terrorist, but that's interesting that she thought that. I mean, clearly the people at the top are terrorists, but average everyday Israelis, no. All right, let's see here. North Koreans allegedly use fake IDs for remote work. U.S. Department of Justice on Thursday accused 14 North Koreans of serving as information technology workers. Yep. For foreign companies in violation of UN sanctions. In addition to those charged, DOJ's indictment states that about 130 North Korean workers were employed, assuming the identities of 188 Americans to land remote work jobs. Roughly $88 million in revenue over 6 years wound up in the pockets of the North Korean government, according to the indictment. $88 million went to Rocket Man in North Korea. Wow. 130 North Korean workers assumed the identities of 188 Americans. So there was a number of workers who were pretending to be more than one person. How about that? And it says, how did this work? The indicted individuals who worked for 2 North Korean companies digitally disguised themselves as American information technology workers using U.S. citizens' stolen identities. The North Korean workers would apply for IT jobs with companies and nonprofit organizations in the U.S., sometimes setting up phony websites to indicate that they had previously worked for reputable companies. Sometimes the North Koreans would hire Americans to attend job interviews and work meetings on their behalf. They also had Americans set up laptops in their homes. The North Koreans then instructed those Americans to download software so that the North Koreans could remotely log into the laptops, making it seem like they were working remotely from inside the U.S. So they had it all planned out. It says the proceeds from the profits went to the North Korean government, and some of the money went directly to Kim Jong-un's regime's nuclear program, says the DOJ. Sometimes, to make even more money for the government, the IT workers would threaten to release proprietary software information unless the company paid them extra money. So there was extortion involved as well. Isn't that nice? Lovely. So I thought you guys would like to know about that. Wow. And then Japanese High Court rules against traditional marriage stance. Get a load of this High Court's name, the Fukuoka. Note that it's F-U-K and U. The Fukuoka High Court in southern Japan on Friday became the third High Court to find that the country's refusal to recognize same-sex marriage was unconstitutional. The judge said the current civil law violates same-sex couples' rights under Japan's constitution to pursue happiness and its constitutional guarantee of equality for both sexes. The ruling could still be appealed to the Japanese Supreme Court. So yeah, they're saying that it violates, the current civil law violates the same-sex couples' rights to happiness. Yeah, and that's how it all started here too, by the way. Just give us same-sex marriage. And now that has morphed into, we're coming for your kids. See how that works? And that's going to be happening in Japan as well, if this is upheld. Yeah, because it goes exactly like that. From, we just want to get married, to, we're coming for your kids. They're ours now. So that's the way it will be headed very soon in Japan, unfortunately. That's too bad. All right, it's no secret I'm a Kari Lake fan, and she apparently has been nominated here. It says Arizona's Kari Lake to lead Voice of America, which I wasn't real sure what that was. I've heard of it, but didn't really know exactly what it was. It says Trump on Wednesday said that Arizona politician Kari Lake would serve as the new director of the state-sponsored broadcaster Voice of America. Lake will be formally appointed to that position by the next head of the U.S. Agency for Global Media, who Trump said he would announce soon. Federal agency reports to 6 bipartisan committees in the House and Senate, and its next leader would need to be confirmed by the Senate. Lake worked as a news anchor in Arizona for 2 decades. Trump said she would ensure that American values were transmitted across the globe fairly and accurately. So, anyway, I figured that she would probably have some sort of role in the Trump administration, but because she's now been cheated out of two different elections, when she should have won in 2020, she should be governor actually right now, but she lost that because it was stolen from her, and now she was cheated out of when she ran for senator in Arizona just a few weeks ago, literally, and that one was cheated. She was cheated, and that was stolen from her as well. Guaranteed election fraud there, and I figured though that Trump would probably appoint her to something. I just wasn't sure what. But anyway, there you go. Voice of America. So who knows if that will really be very beneficial, but I think it's a good role at least. Hopefully she'll turn it into something important. All right, and then this site ThreadReader app I've mentioned multiple times on this show, and this is an article I came across. Israel has conquered Mount Hermon, the highest mountain in Syria, its peak reaching 2,814 meters. Syria's capital, Damascus, is only 40 kilometers away, now within range of Israel's artillery shells. Here's why Israel took this mountain. So here's Mount Hermon. Here's Damascus right here. And then this is the western edge of Syria. It says, for decades, Israel's northern defenses were overshadowed by Syria's Mount Hermon. No longer. The most important natural fortress in the region is now in the hands of Israel. Israel did it quietly, driving into Syria's abandoned positions and taking them without a fight. Yeah, and this is them posting their flag there, I guess. In the past, Israel's radars suffered from a significant blind spot, unable to see beyond Mount Hermon in parts of Lebanon from their position on Mount Meron. Iran's low-flying drones exploited this weakness, infiltrating Israel time and time again. So now they have the high ground, basically. The literal high ground from the mountain. But, Mount Hermon is that's the mountain in Genesis 6, I believe it is, where the fallen angels came down. Came down to Mount Hermon. So, very important from a biblical standpoint as well. Pretty wild. Article from Sputnik, Israel incursion in Syria, not a protective move, but full-blown offensive, according to a Middle East expert. Having seized the Golan Heights, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, currently occupy Quneitra province, 16 kilometers deep into Syrian territory. International Watchdog says the IDF has launched around 300 airstrikes across Syria so far. I think it was way more than that, wasn't it? We saw that earlier in a different article. Wasn't it closer to 500? Anyway, yeah, and they are keeping at it for sure. So that's on Sputnik. And then this is this is one that I mentioned a little while ago, just sort of off the cuff, and this one might be better to look at yourself, but I wanted to point you to it. It's on ThreadReader app as well, because there's a lot of details here. This has to do with the whole Luigi story and timeline. So it says, I'll read a little bit of it, and then you guys can look at it on your own if you're interested. It says, this is for educational purposes only and is no way meant to be accusatory. This is according to the guy that wrote this article. Conclusions drawn are those of the reader based on publicly available information. All sources are at the end. Now, what it is the timeline of events including Brian Thompson, Luigi Mangione, and Nancy Pelosi. All right, it starts out by saying, this is a long one, but stay with me. It's worth it. Let's start here. All right, so, again, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you guys, but you're certainly, welcome to take a look at this. October 2023 is where we start. Department of Justice initiates a non-public antitrust investigation into United Health Group concerning potentially unlawful acquisitions. United Health executives, including CEO Brian Thompson and Chairman Stephen Hemsley, began selling substantial amounts of company stock totaling $101.5 million by February this year. Then January 1st this year, Vin Roberti, chairman of Roberti Global and a longtime political ally and fundraiser for Nancy Pelosi, is retained as a lobbyist by Palo Alto Networks. And then February this year, Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, you remember him from the Gay Hammer Fight Club, purchases 50 call options in Palo Alto Networks valued between $500,000 and $1 million. All random pieces currently, but they fit together soon, I promise. So you can kind of see where this is going here. February 14th, a ransomware attack targets Change Healthcare, a subsidiary of United Health Group, compromising personal and health information of over 100 million individuals. February 16th, Brian Thompson sells $15.1 million worth of United Health Group stock. Other United Health executives complete additional stock transactions during this time. Remember, at this point, the cyber attack is not public information. February 20th, Palo Alto Networks experiences a 20% decline in its stock, after lowering its billing and revenue guidance for the fiscal year. February 21st, Paul Pelosi acquires an additional 20 call options in Palo Alto Networks valued between $100,000 and $250,000. United Health Group publicly discloses the Change Healthcare breach that happened in February this year. Still no public info on Palo Alto and United. Then it says, our favorite stock trader strikes again, meaning Nancy Pelosi. February 26th, the Pelosi family's transactions in Palo Alto Networks are publicly disclosed. March 14th, United Health Group publicly announces its collaboration with Palo Alto Networks in response to the cyber attack on Change Healthcare. Palo Alto Networks Unit 42 team and its attack surface monitoring ASM tools are deployed to enhance cybersecurity and restore operations. So this is still just back in March. So let me kind of scroll forward here a little bit and see where we get to the Luigi stuff here. So October 2024, Tim McKnight is appointed Chief Information Security Officer of United Health Group to enhance the company's cybersecurity measures following this breach. This is where Luigi starts to peek in. How did he know? November 22nd, Luigi Mangione likely boards a Greyhound bus in Atlanta to travel to New York. He arrives in New York on the 24th, 2 days before the public announcement of United Health Group's investor conference. November 26th, United Health Group announces its annual investor conference schedule for December 4th. December 4th, Brian Thompson, CEO of United Health Group, is fatally shot in New York City. His death is under investigation with no confirmed connection to the DOJ probe or insider trading allegations. Remember, Luigi boarded the bus 2 to 4 days prior to the public announcement of the conference. But why would Luigi care? How long is Luigi connected to Pelosi? Well, here's the background. Mangione family connection. Luigi Mangione is part of the prominent Mangione family in Maryland, known for their real estate and healthcare ventures, including Lorien Health Services. Nicholas Mangione, Sr., the founder of Lorien Health Services, is Luigi Mangione's grandfather, as confirmed through family connections involving Luigi's cousin, Nino. Keeping it in the family, sounds like. Both families are prominent in the same very small state. Says political tenures of related figures. Thomas D. Alessandro III is Nancy Pelosi's brother. served as the 44th mayor of Baltimore from December 1967 to December 1971. Nino Mangione is Luigi's cousin. Elected to the Maryland House of Delegates in 2018, began serving in January 2019. The Mangione family is rich. They own resorts and country clubs around the state. But how did they get rich? The family founded and still owns a nursing home chain in the state, Lorien Health Services. So it just keeps going here. Keeps unfolding. So there's apparently some pretty interesting connections with the Pelosi's. And then it says, interesting, no hard facts, no accusations, but traceable lines. How did Luigi know about the conference? He came prepared unless the dude got all his gear in New York City after traveling there by bus with a fake ID. I asked ChatGPT just for fun, and this is what it said. Focus on option 3. So this is what the guy who wrote this article put together here. Option 3 here says lobbyist or industry insider. Indirect connections. Luigi might have gained knowledge of the conference through industry insiders or lobbyists working with United Health Group. Lobbyists or consultants often have access to corporate timelines as part of their advocacy work. So that might be how he found out when and where Brian was going to be. So there's more here, and here's all the links. Each of these scenarios assumes varying levels of intent, access, and sophistication, and would require further investigation to substantiate. There you have it, everything I found, this guy says. So yeah, there's quite a few links here. Pretty wild. So apparently there's some connection here, and it goes back a while if the Pelosi's are involved. So very interesting. All right, I found this, and this is something I think just based on lack of time tonight, we'll investigate this a little further, maybe a separate broadcast later. And I think I've mentioned this before, but this is a Revelation End Times timeline. And what I find that's interesting about this is that some of these things is stating that are fulfilled. Some things are fulfilled, other things it'll say partially fulfilled. And that's kind of what I wanted to get into and figure out what this person who wrote this actually thinks as far as if certain things are what they're calling fulfilled, how is it fulfilled? Trying to get to the bottom of some of these things. Like, for instance, this one I think is pretty much, all the people that I know and am in regular contact with, I think most people would agree that the Revelation 12 sign has indeed happened. The woman in the stars. That happened 9/23/17. And I've made a video on this. That they've looked using the planetary models and so forth. They've looked 1,000 years into the future, and that particular setup, as far as the way the stars are aligned, literally, in Revelation 12, that particular sign in the heavens doesn't happen again for like another 1,000 years. So that kind of, just based on that alone, you can say we're in the end times. But that's what they're also saying in this article, Woman in the Stars, 9/23/17. So there are several other things here that I had some big-time questions about that we can look at later, but just know that I will link to this article so you guys can take a look at this if you want to. It'll be in the Substack post, but it's on the Serapeum.com is where it is. But I don't think I'd really looked too closely at this before, although I do think I've seen it. The thing that I would disagree with, and, that's a matter of just some of the things that I've been involved with, and as you guys well know, I don't necessarily agree that Jesus comes back Feast of Trumpets September 2034, as this says. But I do think an argument could be made that he is definitely coming back very soon. So this is saying September 25th, 2034, Feast of Trumpets, approximately. And then we've got the countdown. As you guys know, I've been focused on September 2028 for a long time, not 2034. I don't think we have that long personally. And, it's interesting. I've heard other people talk about, even from a non-biblical standpoint, people like Mr. Dane of GeoWatch will say that, he doesn't feel like on the current timeline we even make it to 2030. And that fits into what I've been saying all along. And he doesn't even, he doesn't follow any of the things that I talk about. So it is interesting that, I've been saying 2028 for a long time in September, and I'm saying you can't know the day or the hour. And what they're saying here is that you can know the day, just not the hour. And I would see right here, can we know? Yes, the day, but not the hour. I would disagree with that. I don't think we could know the day exactly. The Feast of Trumpets is because of the fact that the way that it works, it's based on the revelation of the moon. And the date range that it would happen, but you wouldn't know the exact day because no man knows the day or the hour. That's literally the name of the Feast of Trumpets. No man knows the day or the hour because no one knew when it was going to happen. So, but people extrapolate, no man knows the day or the hour, and they think it means that we can't possibly know when Jesus will return. No, it's naming the feast. The Feast of Trumpets is called No Man Knows the Day or the Hour. That's the name of it. And what they're saying in this, though, is that you can know the day but not the hour. I would disagree with that. But anyway, I feel like we could get into some of these things a little bit more later. Like it's saying that the beast number 1, the world ruler, will be identified soon. I think that's already happened. So I think whoever put this person's timeline together is behind on this. I think the beast world ruler has been identified. And then like this one, beast number 2, the false prophet, one world religion, fulfilled. I would disagree with that. I think one world religion is part of beast number 1, what he's interested in personally. And, that's just what I think. False prophet, I don't know that that's been revealed. And what they're alluding to here is that it's Trump. And I know other people that think that it's Donald Trump as a false prophet, but that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Right here. So, there's some things that I would personally disagree with on this, but, we can look at it a little bit closer later, but we'll plan to do that. Pretty wild. All right, let's see here. Zero Hedge article. I don't know if you guys already heard about this. FBI Director Chris Wray resigns. He's officially leaving. Hopefully they will throw him in the slammer as soon as he walks out. No, I'm just joking. I don't think that's going to happen, but it says Wray's decision comes weeks after Trump nominated Kash Patel as his replacement. Patel, a fierce critic of the FBI, has said that he would seek to shrink the agency's power, close its Washington headquarters, fire its top ranks, and prosecute corrupt agents. Start with Christopher Wray, if you ask me. And these are kind of interesting. There's quite a bit here on Forbidden Knowledge TV on the drones, including this time lapse of drones spotted in New Jersey. And there's a bunch of them. Of course, how do they know I guess based on their erratic flying, that must be how they know. And this goes on for over a minute. So it's a pretty long time lapse. All right, and then this one as well, I hadn't seen before. This says drones in Bedminster, New Jersey. That one's pretty low and very obvious. You can see it there. And you can hear it. It sounds like a helicopter, really. So, anyway, very strange stuff. And then a couple of Zero Hedge articles kind of talking about the whole drone thing. You guys are certainly welcome to look at this. New theory, New Jersey drone sightings may be nuclear sniffers following elevated NYC radiation levels, something that we sort of mentioned a little bit at the beginning of the broadcast tonight. Just know that is that's available as well. That's on Zero Hedge. And so is this one. This one's probably, in my opinion, maybe even more important. New Jersey drone invasion just in time for Congress to reauthorize an Orwellian law. A series of drone sightings over New Jersey that began mid-November has left residents and lawmakers spooked about the possibility of foreign adversaries breaching U.S. airspace with drone swarms. While officials have attempted to reassure the public, some lawmakers have stoked fear, leading to widespread panic on social media, with people interpreting anything moving in the night sky as a potential drone, even commercial jets, and stars. It's coincidental that last week a Homeland Security Joint Subcommittee held a hearing on H.R. 8610, the Counter UAS Authority, Security, Safety, and Reauthorization Act. This bill would renew and reform counter UAS legal authorities and strengthen the FAA's oversight powers of drones. So this House resolution bill is coming due now. And now all of this stuff about the drones has happened, which gives them more reason to go into more government overreach over drones. Says the reason we need legal authority is that without it, use of the most effective types of drone detection and counter-drone technologies could violate criminal laws, including those that prohibit destroying or disabling aircraft in flight and intercepting signals and communications. So they want more sweeping control and power, is what this is about. It says with current drone countering authorities set to expire on December 20th, just in a few days, the sudden surge in purported drone sightings and accompanying mainstream media and social media panic might make a bit more sense as an effort to push for the reauthorization of Orwellian drone laws. So if you look at it, I think that has an awful lot to do with what we're seeing, with what people are seeing out there. So definitely not what you would call a coincidence. So further Orwellian laws that they want, drone control, and here it is, Congress.gov. H.R. 8610, Counter UAS Authority, Security, Safety, and Reauthorization Act. They want to scare people and give themselves a reason to re-up for the next Congress. H.R. 8610. So there it is, and you can read it if you want to. And again, we'll link to this in the Substack post. And then I won't play this video, but you guys can watch it. I will link to this one as well. This was really good. Many of you guys know who this is. This is Daniel, who is the dark journalist. Daniel List, or whatever his name is. Yeah, the dark journalist. And he goes into a pretty good explanation of the whole COG, continuity of government, and how the drone activity is associated with it. I thought it was really interesting, really good. So, yeah, the UFO invasion mystery has been solved. So, something worth taking a look at, and I think the dark journalist is doing some good work out there. So, I've not really mentioned him before, I don't think, but that interview was really good. And I saw this and thought it was pretty funny. This is saying AI is getting out of hand. Look at this. This is Trump and Putin as DJs. He keeps adjusting his sunglasses. I'm not exactly sure why. See? But it's pretty good recreation. Putin's not quite as convincing as Trump is, but the pink coats are pretty funny. Yeah, it is getting out of hand for sure. I mean, that is wild. All right, and then LeoHoman.com with takeover of Syria, Muslim Brotherhood frontman Erdogan takes big step toward rebuilding Turkey's Ottoman Caliphate. So yeah, this is another empire they're trying to build. I knew this was happening as well as you got the Greater Israel Project happening, which you could argue is they're trying to rebuild the Levant, but now the Turkey is apparently trying to rebuild the Ottoman Empire as well. So good luck. Good luck with that one. Anyway, there's a whole article on that. And then The second article on Leo's website, in Syria, be careful of what you wish for. Sharia law and fresh flow of refugees is more likely to occur than any stability or democracy following the fall of Assad. So 2 pretty good articles on leohoman.com. And then natural news, let's see. Government lies about the mystery drones while terrorizing the American people. That was a pretty good one. Brighteon Health Ranger Report on naturalnews.com. I listened to that one earlier today. Bank of England set to introduce digital pound, pushing citizens toward a future of surveillance and control. And then Biden administration's final act, a desperate attempt to sabotage Trump's border wall promise. Yeah, they're literally auctioning off unused sections of the border wall, which is pretty much all of it. So, yeah. And then, let's see, Wine Press. We have ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino endorses bill promoting digital IDs as Musk seeks to transform X into Chinese surveillance state app WeChat. I've heard that before, that's what he's going for, is a version of WeChat. And that could be, I don't know. It's something worth considering for sure. And then, let me see if there's any other articles here that are worth looking at. Ghana introduces biometric border entry at primary airport in Ghana. Wow. New York Governor Hochul proposes $500 inflation refund stimulus checks. $500. So you can get a tank of gas. Or maybe some eggs at the grocery store. So that's on Wine Press News. And then I thought this one was kind of interesting. I've mentioned Gonzalo Lira before. Judicial Watch FOIA bombshell, how the Biden State Department let YouTuber Gonzalo Lira die in Ukrainian prison. So a FOIA bombshell. Yep. And then, what a liar. Disgraced DHS Secretary Mayorkas makes an outrageous statement on ABC regarding why Americans are seeing drones as he plays down the sightings. Yeah, he says there's nothing to worry about and that they are no threat even though they have no idea what it is. And then, of course, Jimmy Carter, age 100, will skip President Trump's second inaugural next month. He will skip it because he's in a vegetative state. But he did manage to vote for Kamala Harris in his vegetative state. And this is about as sick as it gets right here. Look at this one. Animated Netflix Christmas kids movie mocks the nativity and jokes about aborting Jesus. Jokes. So, way to go, Netflix. Lovely, huh? Anyway, those are some of the headlines on Gateway Pundit. Thought this one was pretty silly. I don't know if you guys know about this, but this was a total bit of propaganda, if you ask me. CNN video of discovering a, quote, prisoner held by the Assad regime called into question. Because this is the reporter. I don't know who this guy is. This is the guy who was supposedly the prisoner in the cell, and shows her going into this guy's cell, and he's covered up with a blanket. The blanket looks pretty new. And then when he stands up, he's got pretty much, I would say, not brand new, but pretty new clothes. Pretty new coat, pretty new jeans. His, his beard and hair and stuff seem to be pretty well manicured, considering he's been supposedly in prison here for months. And I don't think it's very accurate. And then there's some other things that happen here that it just really, really smells. I think that it was a total setup, total sham, and none of it's true. It's like the whole thing where they have the green screen backgrounds and the people's the reporters' noses disappearing, and they're supposedly in Kuwait or wherever it was, Iraq or whatever that story was, going back years now. Yeah, Clarissa Ward, American journalist, is facing accusations of fabricating a scene involving the rescue of prisoners in Syria. That seems totally like what happened. And you can see there's a couple shots of her sort of giving the side eye, making sure the camera is pointed in a certain way, like when the door's opening, when she's opening and stuff. It looks like a total setup, and most likely is, because it is CNN, which is nothing but propaganda. So yeah, that's on the Gateway Pundit. And then this one as well. Officials issue warning after oddly colored snow falls on town. Then it says avoid ingesting or direct skin contact. Yeah, well, it's brown snow. They literally have brown snow falling in Maine. Toxic snow. Rumford, Maine sees brown snowfall. They're blaming it on the paper mill. But you can see in this shot here that it's brown. You suppose it's the paper mill, or do you think it's just that the chemical ice nucleators got the mix wrong? I don't know. But yeah, never really seen brown snow. It almost looks like yellow snow, which that would be even more dangerous. But yeah. Don't be eating any brown snow or yellow snow. But yeah, they're blaming the paper mill for it. Isn't that nice? Very convenient. Then there's this one. Candace Owens doing really good work out there. Candace interviews whistleblowers on USS Liberty incident in 1967. She is sure to fan the flames of discord with her foe Ben Shapiro after her latest long-form interview, when she interviewed Phil Turney, a survivor of the USS Liberty. USS Liberty was a U.S. naval intelligence warship patrolling the Mediterranean during the Six-Day War in 1967. The Liberty has been the subject of many controversial things over the years. On June 8, 1967, it was attacked by Israeli jets and torpedo boats, killing 34 in action and wounding 171. Wow. Turney was one of the many survivors who was blowing the whistle on the attack. The official party line is that the Israeli attack was a case of mistaken identity. Turney, along with many other survivors, maintained that it was no mistake. Turney alleges that this was a false flag attempt with collusion between the U.S. government and the Israeli government at the highest levels. Sounds a bit like World War II, doesn't it? Pearl Harbor. His testimony on Candace's show is compelling as he details the horrific events of the day, along with the evidence of foreknowledge by key government insiders. So, yeah, and you suppose they could be lying? Surely not. Anyway, yeah, that's article on the Gateway Pundit, but the actual interview, I'm looking to see if it's embedded here. The documents are, but the actual interview doesn't appear to be embedded. Oh, here it is. There's a link to it. It's just on YouTube. So, yeah, well, I'll try and remember and embed that as a separate link with the actual article here in the Substack post. All right, and then Truth in Media. How is Ukraine behind the chaos in Syria? So, yeah, connections between Ukraine and Syria. Obviously trying to hurt Russia. But there's a video report there, and on Activist Post we have the top article. Look at these egg prices. 37% of Americans struggle to pay their most basic bills as food prices accelerate again. So this is a Michael Snyder article, that particular one. 300 deadly virus samples go missing in Australia. Lovely. All right, and then this one I thought was worth mentioning as well, just because these people never cease to amaze me. Pope Francis unveils baby Jesus in a keffiyeh. And I had to look up what a keffiyeh even was. I didn't know what it was. It's one of these. Not a turban, but it's a traditional headdress worn by men from parts of the Middle East. It's fashioned from a square scarf, usually made of cotton. A keffiyeh is Arabic. Traditional headdress worn by men in parts of the Middle East. Okay, so keeping that in mind, this article, again, Israel365news.com, not friendly to Christians, not friendly to Christian believers in Jesus, right? So here's what the article says. Pope Francis unveils baby Jesus in a keffiyeh. So I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. And then there's the picture, which they mislead you by showing you this picture. And why is it misleading you? Because if you scroll down here, it says right here, an AI image of baby Jesus swaddled in a traditional keffiyeh. Yeah. Well, that's clearly the message they're trying to portray here. However, that is not exactly what happened. Here's what happened. And don't get me wrong, I don't like the Pope either. He's as criminal and as evil as they come, for sure. But if you see the baby here, he's not swaddled in a keffiyeh. He's simply laying on what appears to be, almost looks like a beanbag, with a keffiyeh type of print underneath him. See, here it is right here. And it could definitely pass as that, but it is not wrapped around the baby. He is not being swaddled. I know what swaddling is, and that is not it. He's just laying on it. So you can see how they are trying to steer you in a certain way in this article, and it's about as disingenuous as it comes. And this is the part that really irritated me. So forget all that, even though that's, in my opinion, a lie. All right. Look at the scripture they have here at the top. They have scripture at the top of every article. This is their scripture talking about Jesus. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. Proverbs 19:9 from the Israel Bible, which wouldn't favorably look at Jesus, would it? A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will perish. That is the scripture they're referring to when talking about Jesus. Again, about as evil as it comes, but you got to know what to watch for. Anyway, yep, not a big fan of Israel 365 News, but I do like to look at the site just so I can point out what they're talking about when it comes to anti-Christian stuff. And they do quite a bit of it. All right, just a few political cartoons I found here. Well, this is just on the InfoWars homepage. Well, it got us thinking about healthcare issues when we saw the CEO was murdered. And then the people walking by, particularly mental health. You got the Luigi and Free Him, and then the heart with the other picture of Luigi. So, yeah. Stop that. You are not president yet. Trump's putting out the World War III flames. Not sure how accurate that is, but we'll see. Instead of the same old questions about my behavior each year, it might make sense for you to grant me a preemptive pardon, the kid says. That's pretty good. I like that. If this was Biden instead of Santa Claus, he might get one. All right, and then let's see. NYC governor said, or New York governor says, drone invasion has gone too far. New Jersey senator claims massive cover-up. They're so fearful of what the public is going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul issued a statement Saturday declaring that the East Coast mystery drone activity has gone too far after several drones flew unauthorized and forced runways at Stewart International Airport to close for an hour. Again, going back to what we talked about before, that HR, whatever it was, 8610 or something, talking about how it's trying to build a panic a little bit so that so they will pass their House resolution again for further drone oversight by the government. Makes sense. Create the crisis and they come in with the solution, don't they? That's what they do. All right, let's look at this one. I think this is certainly worth watching. You guys know who Paul Joseph Watson is. He does good work. Talking about the truth about Syria.
And cities as Bashar al-Assad was finally overthrown. In Manchester, in London, in Vienna, in Dortmund, and in Chicago.
The celebration that took place here in Commerce Plaza today can only be described as an outpouring of pent-up emotion.
So, I guess they're all going back home now, right? You know, to help rebuild their country.
We've reclaimed Damascus, Damascus being the capital of Syria. Yeah, I understand. So the entire country is free. So is it free now? We are free now. So finally. So now does that mean all you go back to Syria now? The economic situation isn't good.
Okay. Wait, what did he say?
Does that mean all you go back to Syria now? The economic situation isn't good. Okay.
Oh, probably not going back home then. Free Syria, Assad is a dog. My family had to flee Assad. Okay, Assad's out, back to Syria you go. No, this is unfair, no, don't send me back to Syria, my life is ruined. I'm not a Syrian refugee anymore, I'm Syrian, just Syrian. Cool, when are you leaving? So with Assad gone, who exactly is taking over Syria? Because the legacy media seems really excited over it. And since when have they been wrong in the past? It's basically Al-Qaeda in suits. Call it technocratic jihad, led by this man, Abu Mohammed al-Jawlani. No, my mistake, as of last week he's calling himself Ahmed al-Sharaa. It's all part of a bold rebrand, which according to the BBC is partly centred around al-Sharaa reinventing himself by wearing a more Western-style wardrobe. Yes, he may have been a member of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, he may have been groomed and mentored by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the former leader of ISIS, he may have formed the Al-Nusra Front, an offshoot of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, he may have pledged allegiance to Al-Qaeda, he may have sworn an oath to Osama bin Laden, he may have been radicalised to follow jihad by 9/11, he may have planted roadside IEDs in Iraq to kill US troops, he may be the head of a group, HTS, which is designated by the UN, US, UK and other countries as a terrorist organisation, with the US placing a $10 million bounty on his head. But hey, last week he declared diversity is a strength, and he started saying nice things while ditching the scary camo fatigues. So, you know, people can change, I guess. According to CNN, the transition from radical jihadist to peace-loving revolutionary can be achieved by just shaving your beard a bit and putting on a blazer. Or as the BBC describes it, moderate jihad.
الولايات المتحدة وغيرها تقول أنت كنت جزء من منظمات عملت هذا الشيء، قتل المدنيين والتهجير وغيرها.
أنا لم أفعل هذا الشيء يعني، فكان نصيبي أن أساق إلى مكان معين يعني مع حالة الوعي وصغر السن في ذاك الوقت وكذا.
I mean, who can honestly say that when they were young and stupid, they weren't a member of a jihadist group that killed civilians? We've all been there. People can change. Remember, all these freedom fighters in Syria want to fly planes into our buildings. Now those freedom fighters, some of whom are statistically certain to be terrorists, are being freed from prison en masse and told to go where they please. What could possibly go wrong? Should we really be that bothered about the fact that supporters of groups whose militants have repeatedly slipped through Western borders to carry out mass casualty atrocities now have access to, checks notes, vast stockpiles of munitions, including chemical weapons, armoured fighting vehicles, combat planes and missiles? Should that really concern us? After all, he did shave his beard a bit, and the UK government, after the rebels toppled Assad, suddenly declared that they're no longer terrorists anyway. It's moderate jihad. So I guess that now Syria is free and under the control of diversity-loving jihadist rebels, there's no need for any more Western military involvement, right?
U.S. forces conducted a dozen of precision strikes.
Those strikes hitting more than 75 ISIS targets, including camps, leaders, and operatives. The White House hoping to prevent a resurgence by the terror group in the region.
Oh, so it's fantastic that a group affiliated with ISIS took over the country, but now we're bombing ISIS to prevent ISIS from taking over the country. Alright, that makes sense. And now Lindsey Graham says a ground incursion by US troops is imperative. Oh, still at least we've got fairly recent historical examples to assure us that when Middle Eastern dictators fall, everything normally turns out to be just peachy, like in Iraq and Libya. Oh. Now, despite legacy media assurances of a smooth transition, different rebel factions are already fighting with each other, while in Western cities they're squabbling on the streets. For every scene the media highlights of a few hundred people celebrating in a central square, there are many more thousands of families huddled and fearful in their homes, not knowing what entity or Islamist faction controls the checkpoint around the block. And as for Syria's 30,000 Christians who remain in the country,
in this village in Syria, they still speak the same language of Jesus Christ from biblical times. I'm here in Malula, where they speak Aramaic, and linguists believe this town is most similar to the original language due to its isolation in the Syrian mountains. This is what it sounds like. Roughly 10% of Syrians are Christians, and Syria was actually a Christian majority before being conquered by Muslim Arabs.
Well, they should be just fine. After all, it's only Sharia light. It's only moderate jihad, right?
Wow, that was hilarious. Yes, it's only the diversity-loving jihadi rebels. Yes. Too funny. And I like how they're asking if the Syrian rebels are going to leave all the different countries in Europe now, being how that Assad is out and Syria has been set free, and they're like, no, we can't leave now. Economics are just too bad. Yep, says all you need to know, doesn't it? So yeah, the truth about Syria. Good stuff. All right, vaccine impact top articles for this week. Techno-Christianity and the New Tech Christians. The Techno-Christians, America's resurgence of Christianity for millennials in the technological age. So that sounds pretty interesting. And look at the, I guess the AI-generated photo here of Jesus apparently wearing a, looks like one of those Meta glasses things or Google Glass type thing. I don't know what it is. Very strange. And then the next article, GM ends cruise robotaxi after wasting $10 billion in 8 years. Wall Street rejoices and continues to invest in driverless vehicles, which still do not exist. So they're calling it the Cruise. Cruise is kaput. Yeah, GM Cruise. So, yeah. I call them self-crashing cars because that's what they really are. That's what they're really good at. Is a new Russian-Turkey alliance forming. Syrian President Assad moves to Moscow. So, anyway, and then, have you overcome the world yet? Who is it that overcomes the world? And they've got World Health Organization logo is crossed out. And then it says, only he who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. 1 John 5:5. Yep. And then the other articles I mentioned last week. So, several pretty interesting ones on vaccine impact this week. So have a look at that one. And then GeoWatch for this week, we have December 14th. So from posted yesterday. Atmospheric river triple threat. Atmospheric river triple threat brings rounds of rain, mountain snow across the west. Record-breaking lake effect snow arrives as winter starts. Why is Lake Superior full of icy snowballs? And then it says, and there's this headline also from NOAA, Great Lakes experience record warm water temperatures heading into winter. Record-breaking snow from record warmth, and welcome to the world of climate intervention operations. So yeah, and then we have this week's Global Alert News. So feel free to listen to that one if you haven't already, and it's available on his YouTube channel. It's embedded here on GeoWatch, and then it's also on Spotify and BitChute and Rumble. So make sure you're following along on at least one of those channels, and then you'll know when the new shows come out. And I mentioned last week, remember we had the warm-up kind of more or less across the board, and then I said, you know what, I bet you the next one we see, we're going to have it split down the center again with the east being cool and the west being warm. Did I not say that? And then look at our map for this week. It is exactly what I said. They're going to have the moisture that they pull up from the Gulf, and they're going to chemically ice nucleate it, cool down the eastern part of the U.S., valid December 21st through 25th. The only thing I got wrong was the dates. I said the 18th through the 25th, but it's the 21st through the 25th. Everything else is exactly what I predicted last week. Just because it's easy to know this kind of stuff when you follow what the geoengineers are actually doing. So anyway, that is the scheduled weather for the coming holiday season. It's coming up soon, isn't it? Hard to believe. So the next thing that I had pulled up was another King Charles thing I wanted just to mention. If you're in the band group, you may have already seen this. I did a posting of this, and I'll just kind of let it play while I'm talking here. But this is Tim Cook, and the world loves Tim Cook because he's the CEO of Apple, but they really love him because he's gay. He's openly gay, and that's what makes everything he does totally fine and perfect. So notice that he happens to be with someone else you might know. That would be KC3. So yeah, apparently King Charles visited the Apple headquarters in the UK there, and Tim Cook was there, so they're working the crowd, as it were. And the thing that I mentioned on this was just an observation, really, and that is Charles loves to go from person to person and talk to everybody and meet everybody and shake their hands and I suppose be as personable as he can be. And I think it's interesting that he does this. He continues to do it, even as king. He always did that as prince as well. But I think that this may be what we see if he is indeed going to become the biblical Antichrist, which I really fully believe that the evidence supports that. The biblical evidence supports that as well, that he is the guy. And if there will be an attempt on his life, it could be in a situation like this where he's meeting people, making the rounds, and shaking hands. And he does have a security person there with him. It's the guy in the back behind him there with the white tie, with the white shirt and black tie, and you can see him watching. Watch him. He's looking closely at the people that Charles is meeting and talking to and shaking hands with. And he's looking over Charles's shoulder. See, watch the guy here. He's kind of looking closely. I assume he's looking for any sort of, weapons or anything like that the person might be holding, which all they're holding is their phones because they really think he's a huge celebrity and star. Well, I guess he is. He's the biblical Antichrist. But I do find it interesting. I mean, I think it's very possible that if there is indeed an attempt on Charles's life, which I'm not calling for, by the way, but the Bible talks about it. Revelation 13:3. Look it up. This could be what happens. I mean, he could be out meeting people and then somebody tries to pull something. I have no idea. Hopefully that won't happen. I'm not calling for that. I just want to be clear, but he does like to go out and meet the little people like you and I and these kids. So anyway, if anything like that does happen, we will know. We will know then that we got the right guy, especially when he comes back to life. Because when he comes back to life, he will be fully indwelled by the spirit of Satan, which I believe he probably is already indwelled at some point. Most likely it was in his investiture going way back to 1969 when he was made Prince Charles of Wales. But I think it's probably been part of his life for most of his life. But I think it probably would go back to 1969. But as far as Satan himself, no, not yet. I don't think so. And I know Tim Cohen's talking about that he believes that Charles may already be indwelled by the spirit of Satan. I don't think so. I think that it will take him being, let's just say, relieved of his life. And when he makes a comeback, I think at that point he will be a different person. Quite literally. So we will see. We will see. He might even be younger. We just don't know. I know I'm kind of throwing some different things out there, but just an idea I had. They could miss and graze him in the ear. I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. Looking at Trump, I mean, a lot of people said that about Trump. He has the ear thing going on, but I just don't think that was the incident. I mean, he was never pronounced dead. You know what I mean? Like, he was never dead. He never died. There was never really any reporting of that. Matter of fact, they were playing it down. They were going the opposite way with Trump. They were saying, "Oh, he just tripped and fell off the stage," or whatever they were saying. So I don't know. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. I think it's kind of a long video, but we've actually seen about half of it here while I was talking. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I guess that was pretty much the end of the video and the end of the news articles. I did find some interesting things to retweet this week, so make sure you're following along on the Diamond Report. I wanted to mention this. Well, let's first look at a few of these posts, and then I'll mention the to me the big news about the whole Twitter X thing. I like this bullshit. I guess it's Roger Stone that tweeted this, but yeah, why can't Adam Schiff stop lying? He's got the bull Schiff meter is going, I mean, it's like pegged And I come from an audio background and a recording studio, and that's a VU meter. And when your meter is pegged like that, that is bad news. So yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, and then Elon Musk calls Justin Trudeau a, quote, insufferable tool. And then Tara Bull is wondering, how long until Trudeau cries about it? It's a good question. Yep. And then, of course, Trump is going to release Epstein's client list, which means release the drones. Yep. And then Musk tweeted this, everyone, please stop creating fake narratives for war. But the government then basically says this about Iran. It's the Iranian mothership. Yeah. And then everyone in Tennessee waiting for drones to fly over. I don't know if that's J.D. Vance, but it kind of looks like him. I don't think it is, but he's got his UT shirt on. Pretty funny. And then, of course, there's this. This is something that AI is actually useful for. So Trump posted this about New Jersey drones. He's got the drones delivering the McDonald's food to the old governor there, former governor. And then this one, keep this in mind. Sammy Hagar, you guys might remember him, right? From a rocker from the 80s and then part of Van Halen. Sammy Hagar is 70 years old and Bill Clinton is 71 years old. Sammy Hagar has had over 40 plus years of alcohol, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. But look at the difference. The main thing, though, is that Bill lives with Hillary. That's why he looks so terrible. He looks like death warmed over. Pretty funny. All right, then this is a post I retweeted from Ted Nugent, of all people. We were talking about Sammy Hagar. Well, this is from Ted Nugent. Your child isn't trans. Your child is impressionable, and you are an abuser. I've said almost those exact words before. Yeah. They're not trans. They're just being brainwashed. And if you wondered, there are only two genders, male and female. And there's examples of each one right there. For you audio-only listeners, the male example here is Michael Obama. The female is Mrs. Trump. And then here is the huge blast going off in Syria that we mentioned at the beginning of the show. This is the longer version of this explosion, which apparently was Israel bombing a weapons dump, a weapons depot in extreme western Syria on the water there, or near the water. And then this one, the government we have now versus the government we really need. You can see this huge book with thousands of pages, or versus this one, which has like 20, which makes sense. Okay, here's what I was going to mention. And if you follow along on Facebook, you would already know this. But if you don't follow along on the stuff that I put out on Facebook, you wouldn't know this. But have a look at this. See if I can zoom in here. All right, well, what we're seeing here is the Diamond Report on Twitter X officially has 106 followers. Okay? That's not very good. I would like to have those numbers be higher, but guess what? About 10 days ago, I had 215 followers. So apparently I am really ticking off somebody for doing these retweets or something. Maybe just a bot. Maybe I'm ticking off the algorithm on Twitter X. But I went from about 215 followers to 106 followers in 10 days. So I must be doing something right, because I'm going backwards. I don't know exactly how that happened, but I do find it very interesting. How does that even happen? I lost half of my followers on the Diamond Report in 10 days. And all I do is, for the most part, retweet what other people are putting out. I do put out the Diamond Report on here. Like if you scroll down far enough, you'll see last week's show right here. Syria falls and global war by February 20th. That's last week's show. So, I do put out some original stuff, but I'm retweeting things and or making comments on what I've tweeted about. So, I don't know. How do you lose half of your followers on Twitter in 10 days? I don't know, but I've done it. So, very strange. Anyway, and then let's look at Substack. This is what it looks like, diamonddisc.substack.com. Make sure you're on that list. And the link's in the upper right corner up there in the black box, diamonddisc.substack.com. That is where you can get on the free subscription list, email list, where I can stay in touch with you guys, and then also where you can get the articles when I send them out on Tuesday. And it will also have all of the links to the final version of this show, which will be up on all of the various channels, including my YouTube channel. It'll be a direct link to the video when it's up there on Tuesday. And then also the final version, the unedited version of this show that will be available tomorrow on my Rumble channel and BitChute, as well as Brighteon and Facebook. I'll be back on there as well. So anyway, there's those things. And then if you want to help me out, I would certainly appreciate it. I had somebody buy something from the store the other day, and that was pretty cool. Bought a sweatshirt, if I remember right. A hoodie, maybe. And know that there are various products on here, Diamond Report and Conspiracy Analyst Diamond Report goodies, different things, hoodies and hats and shirts and stickers and different things like that. So thank you guys for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. I don't have any advertising on this show, and definitely do not want any advertising, just because I don't want to have to, agree to terms with people who are not necessarily liking what I report on, what I talk about. So I don't really want to do that. So anyway, the way you can support this show and keeping it uncensored is by simply going to the store and buying something, and or signing up on Subscribestar or on the Substack, where you can choose to give monthly or just a one-time donation, even if you want to. I have people that do that, and thank you guys for those who do that. I've had a couple of checks come in recently. Thank you guys. Some very small cash donations, which that's all the people had, and I really, really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. So that means that you are liking what I'm providing here on this show, and I can't really do it without you. So just know that these options are there if you guys want to help what I'm doing, starting at $5 a month. And Miss Emily has already posted the link for Subscribestar as well as Band over in the chats on Rumble and on YouTube. So yeah, welcome to the Rumblers who are here tonight, and also for the folks on YouTube. Yeah, and then let's see, the Band group. This is the logo for it, so you'll know you're in the right place if you do want to join. It's totally free, and it's just band.us/@thediamondreport. That's what it is. And got a good group of people in there just sharing information is all it is. Sometimes I'll post things that I find, I run across, that I may put on my Facebook page. Sometimes I'll put it in Band as well. Sometimes I only put it in Band. And it's a good way to hear what you guys are looking at as well, to take a look at some of the things you guys are researching yourselves. You guys are all good researchers too. So anyway, I appreciate that, and thank you guys for your time tonight. I really, really enjoy spending time with you guys each week. The show next week will also be at 10 p.m. Central Time on the 22nd. So we are just days away, really, from Christmas at this point. So pretty crazy. I don't know how we did that so quickly this year, but we are at the end of the year already almost. So anyway, yeah, thanks for joining me tonight again. I appreciate it, and make sure you keep the Lord Jesus Christ front and center in your life, because, boy, we do not know how much time we have, that is for sure. Things are not looking too good. But hopefully we will make it through this holiday season and see what 2025 has in store for us. I tend to think it probably isn't going to be good. But if we have each other, that's a plus. And if we have Jesus Christ, that's even better. I wanted to mention the whole 2025 thing and this talk of, Project Bluebeam and space aliens and the drones and all this stuff has really kind of coincided, I think, not really intentionally, but it is interesting how it's notice on this timeline that I've had out since 2019, I've got the little space alien face right here on this timeline, starting in January 2025. And look at all this stuff that's happening right now with people talking about this technology and Project Bluebeam, which I don't necessarily think we'll ever really see the light of day on, but I do think it's interesting that people are talking about all this alien stuff right now, and we are really literally just days away from January 2025. And I had posted this on my timeline for End Times dates that I made in March of 2019, January 2025. Pretty weird. Coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. I really don't. But I'll let you guys investigate that further if you want. But yeah, End Times Dates is a series I put together. It's on the YouTube channel and Rumble and various other places as well. So anyway, thanks you guys for being here tonight. I really appreciate it again. And we'll do it again next Sunday night at 10 p.m. That would be the 22nd. So we'll see you guys then. And make sure you guys keep the Lord close to you and keep your loved ones as well. Keep them close to you too. And just keep praying, and I certainly appreciate any of the people out there that are praying for me and my family. Definitely, I can feel your prayers. I know that it does make a difference, and I will keep you guys in my prayers as well. So we've got one video to close here. It's about Bitcoin and the future of financial freedom. So we'll watch this as we close out, and we'll see you guys next week. Love you all. Talk to you again real soon.
After Trump was elected, Bitcoin surged past 100,000 for the first time. Trump has said that he will somehow maintain USD dominance against the BRICS nations. And Michael Saylor has suggested a radical way to do this.
So the very simple idea is buy 20 or 25% of the Bitcoin network on behalf of the U.S. government, catalyze the development of that world reserve capital network, and then let all the Chinese and the Russians and the foreigners sell all their other assets and buy Bitcoin, and then the money flows into the United States. If you want to put a great twist on it, dump your gold, sell all the U.S. gold, buy Bitcoin, then the trade is free because you could buy 5 million Bitcoin for the cost of the gold. You will demonetize the entire gold asset class, and our enemies hold gold in their banks, so their assets would go to zero. Our assets would go to $100 trillion, and we would control the world's reserve capital network as well as the world's reserve currency network.
This scheme could magically wipe away the current deficit, which Trump alluded to in the recent past.
Who knows, maybe we'll pay off our $35 trillion, hand him a little crypto check, right? We'll hand him a little Bitcoin and wipe out our $35 trillion.
Early Bitcoin advocate Roger Ver is being threatened with 109 years in prison for tax evasion, even though he renounced his U.S. citizenship in 2014. Weeks after publishing his book, Hijacking Bitcoin, The Hidden History of BTC, Roger Ver was arrested by Interpol in Spain and has been held in the country at the behest of the U.S. government. He was recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson as to why the U.S. government is after him.
There was no doubt in my mind whatsoever that people were going to start using Bitcoin as money. And so I thought, oh, this is every libertarian's dream come true. Suddenly now we're going to have a choice. Bitcoin was supposed to be money for the world. Bitcoin was supposed to be used for payments as peer-to-peer cash for the world. And that's how people were using it. And, I was doing payroll in it and I was paying my suppliers overseas. But then later, this giant wave of censorship took place. Anonymous people that nobody knows their real names managed to get control of all the main discussion platforms for Bitcoin. And then suddenly, one day overnight, nobody was even allowed to advocate for Bitcoin being used as money. And they censored anybody that tried to do that. And initially, everybody saw through it. But then everybody that came to Bitcoin after the censorship began, they just started believing it. And today, the main people that are out there promoting Bitcoin, they literally say, oh, Bitcoin shouldn't compete with the US dollar. Bitcoin, you shouldn't use it as money. You shouldn't use it to pay for things. Like Bitcoin is just a digital asset. You should just hold it. And it's the exact opposite. They've through the censorship and the propaganda, they've literally hijacked Bitcoin. And I literally wrote an entire book about it. You can find more at hijackingbitcoin.com. It's available on Amazon and everywhere else. And lo and behold, just a couple of weeks after the book is published, I get arrested, and now I'm facing 109 years in federal prison for having exposed the way in which Bitcoin was hijacked.
Is it now possible to conduct any kind of business with crypto anonymously?
So in the early days, everybody thought Bitcoin was basically anonymous and people treated it that way. And then websites came up that were selling things that governments might not necessarily want you to buy. And people were using Bitcoin for that because they thought it was basically anonymous. And then later on, we found out that it wasn't anonymous at all, but additional steps were taken to make Bitcoin even less anonymous. And today, most people are just using custodial wallets, which are, it's not even a wallet. It's just an account, and it's no more private than your, Bank of America or PayPal account. In fact, it's even less private. People are claiming that Bitcoin is freedom money, but I'm really afraid that they're literally building the financial prison walls around themselves. Like if you look at what's going on in El Salvador, everybody's excited about Bitcoin there, but they're all using custodial accounts that the government can see every single transaction you're making, and they can freeze your account at any time. That's the exact opposite of economic freedom. That's economic government control. And so anybody that's paying attention should be really, really concerned about this. And they should be advocating the use of cryptocurrencies in which individuals can actually have control of their own money and have control over their own lives, their own destiny. Maybe that'll be Bitcoin, thanks to this new technology called confidential layer that bridges it onto Zano. But, and I don't know what it's going to be, but we need to be really, really careful because, it could wind up that before we know it and before we realize it, we've built the financial prison walls around us and it's too late to get out and too late to escape.
So it doesn't sound like you're suspicious that Bitcoin was created by the intel agencies as a kind of trap for people.
I don't think it was created that way initially, but I am suspicious. And I do think that the intel agencies and other groups have converted it and hijacked it into becoming a financial trap.
Learn more at freerogernow.org. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.